that time of the year again, Halloween. Why read Creepypastas, this time of the Simpsons variety. For those of you who don't know, 1. What's wrong with you? And 2. The Simpsons is a long-running animated sitcom created by Matt Groening in 1987 or 9. 87 was the Tracy Ullman shorts. 89 was like the actual show. The show has been running for over 30 years and is still running to this day. It just won't stop. I mean, look at this. Simpsons media comes in anything. Comics, a movie from 2007, toys, games, even terrible online web stories. Today I'll be reading one of those creepypastas, this one being Dead Bart. You know Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is a lost episode from Season 1. Finding details about the missing episode is difficult. No one who was working on the show at the time likes to talk about it. From what has been pieced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt Groening. During production of the first season, Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet, seemed nervous and morbid. The episode was about Simpsons going on a plane trip. Near the end of the first act, the plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around, as you'd expect. However, as the plane was about 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window on the plane, and it was sucked out. At the beginning of the series, Matt had an idea that the animated style of the Simpsons world represented life, and that death turned things more realistic. This was used in this episode. The picture of Bart's corpse was barely recognizable. That took full advantage of it not having to move, and made almost photorealistic drawing of his dead body. Act 1 ended with a shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge, and Lisa were sitting at their table, crying. There were faces looking in the window, flashing in and out, so you were never sure what they looked like. This crying went out for all of the Act 2. Act 3 opened with a title card saying a year had passed. Homer, Marge, and Lisa. What about Maggie? Were skeletally thin and still sitting at the table. There was no sign of Maggie or the pets. Okay, that explains why Maggie's gone. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted. As they walked to the cemetery, the houses became more and more decrepit. It looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of the tombstone, looking like it just did at the end of Act 1. Jeez, it looks the same on all just the span of a year. The family started crying again. Eventually it stopped and just stared at Bart's body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to summaries, Homer tells a joke at this part, but it isn't audible in the version I saw. You can't tell what Homer is saying. The view zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star. Some that no one have heard of in 1989, some that haven't even been on the show yet. All of them have death dates on them. For guests who died since, like Michael Jackson and George Harrison, the dates were when they would die. The credits were completely silent, and they seemed handwritten. The final image was the Simpsons family on their couch, like in the intros, but all drawn hyper-realistic, lifeless style of Bart's corpse. A thought occurred to me after seeing this episode for the first time. You could try to use the tombstones to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most ones who haven't died yet. All of the deaths are listed as the same date. Now it's time for an overview. The creepypasta wasn't all that bad. On a side note, I'm never reading creepypastas or SCPs on this channel ever again. Cue the title and the Mega Man music.